All right, so you know how your favorite apps get new features and bug fixes almost constantly? Ever stop and wonder how that's even possible? Well, today, we're going to break down the powerful concept behind all that speed, a philosophy called DevOps. The answer really boils down to this. The old way of making software was, well, it was fundamentally broken. There was this huge invisible wall that just slowed everything to a crawl. So let's dive in and take a look at what exactly this wall was. Okay, so to really get why DevOps was such a game changer, we need to rewind a bit. We've got to go back to a time when this invisible wall ran right through the middle of pretty much every software company out there. So picture this wall. On one side, you've got your development team. Their whole deal was to create change, right? To build cool new features and push them out to users as fast as humanly possible. For them, it was all about speed. And then on the other side of that wall, you had the operations team, the sysadmins. And their job was the complete opposite. They were all about keeping things stable, keeping things reliable. So for them, every single new change was a huge risk, something that could totally break the entire system. So you can see how this created a natural conflict, right? It built what people call a wall of confusion. And it led to this really slow, painful process. We're talking manual handoffs, a whole lot of finger pointing and blame games, just tons and tons of friction. And the result of all this? Well, releasing even a tiny update could take weeks, sometimes even months. The whole system was just bogged down because these two teams were working in their own separate worlds, in total isolation from each other. So you have to ask, how do you fix a fundamental problem like that? How do you tear down that wall? Well, that is exactly where DevOps enters the picture. Okay, so here's the most important thing to get about DevOps. At its core, it isn't some tool you can buy. And it's not just a job title. It's really a cultural philosophy. It's a practice, a way of working that completely changes how teams collaborate. The whole point is to bring development and operations together, to unify them into one single collaborative team. They're no longer on opposing sides. Instead, they start working together toward one shared goal, delivering real value to you, the customer, as quickly and reliably as possible. But here's the thing. While going faster is a huge part of it, it's not just about speed. The DevOps culture is actually built on a few key ideas, these pillars that make all that speed possible without, breaking everything. And this whole culture really stands on 4 key pillars. First up is automation. The idea is to automate everything you possibly can. Then there's this intense focus on quality and continuous testing, so you can catch bugs way earlier. And finally, you've got constant monitoring, which is all about keeping a close eye on how the app is doing once it's out in the wild. Okay, so that's the theory, right? But what does this all actually look like in practice? How does it work? Well, it's all powered by one core engine. And that engine is, you guessed it, automation. This is the absolute heart of DevOps. The goal is to automate every single step of the entire process, from the second a developer writes a line of code all the way to that code running live for users. So instead of that slow, clunky one step at a time process we talked about earlier, it becomes this continuous automated loop. Think about it. A developer pushes some code, and then bam, it's automatically built, it's automatically tested, it's deployed, and it's constantly being monitored for any problems. This amazing automated loop has a name. It's called a CI/CD pipeline. That stands for continuous integration and continuous delivery. And what this pipeline does is it makes sure that every single change to the code gets automatically checked and validated, which seriously cuts down on manual work and, of course, human error. All right, so you might be thinking, this sounds like a lot of work. Why do companies go through all this trouble to make such a huge cultural shift? Well, the answer is simple. The payoff is massive. The impact is just staggering. A process that used to take, say, 3 months to get one single feature out the door can now be done in just 1 month. And honestly, often it's even faster than that. That is a huge leap forward in speed. And really, the ultimate goal here is to get as close to 0 as possible. We're talking 0 manual steps, 0 downtime when you're pushing updates, and ideally, 0 bugs ever making it to the customer. So when you boil it all down, what does all this mean for you, the person actually using the app? It's simple. You get the features you want faster. the apps you use are higher quality and way more stable. And at the end of the day, it's just a much better, more reliable experience all around. So let me just leave you with this one thought. What if every single good idea, every bug fix, every little improvement could get to users in a matter of hours instead of months? That is the incredible, game-changing promise of DevOps.